What's up, everyone? Welcome to the FA podcast, a Football Friday on a Wednesday, a holiday weekend. Decided to do a show today instead of Friday when everyone's going to be at their cookouts and everything. So, plus we can get Jimmy on as well. He'll be on sometime soon. But pretty short show today. Just one trade to talk about, and then we'll talk about the Cardinals and the Bucs. Offseason's our second to last offseason recap here before we get into the nitty gritty and into training camp and everything else. Season previews, records predictions, awards predictions, everything. So, like I said, just one news note here: the trade, the second trade that went down for the Dolphins. Give me a sec here. Thought this saved. It did not. But anyways, the second trade for the Dolphins in a couple days, they traded a conditional 2027 sixth round pick to the New York Giants for tight end Darren Waller and a 2027 seventh round pick. Waller gets a 1-year, $5 million deal to come out of retirement and play for the Miami Dolphins this year. So it solves their tight end problem. When you look at it, we mentioned it last show when we talked about the Jalen Ramsey trade and the Dolphins trading away Jonnu Smith. And it really does solve a huge problem for Miami. Now they have a third weapon that they lacked when they traded Smith away there. But we'll see what he has. A year away from football, it'll be interesting to see what production he can actually put on the field there for the Dolphins. But nonetheless, should be an interesting scenario there in Miami. Also, one other note here, the DC Defenders look to be getting their offensive coordinator back. Fred Keiss plans to return to DC next year. Was going to take the offensive coordinator job to go with former head coach Reggie Barlow at Tennessee State, but he has now said he will return to DC, run it back with Shannon Harris, who should have his interim tag ripped off soon, and move forward with the 2026 DC Defenders there, which very excited for to defend their title. All right, let's get to the cards here. Cardinals offseason losses. Wide receiver Zach Pascal to the Giants. Guard Will Hernandez is a free agent. Defensive tackle Kieris Tonga to the Patriots. Defensive tackle Naquan Jones to the Chargers. Defensive tackle Roy Lopez to the Lions. Defensive tackle Angelo Blackson is a free agent. Edge rusher Dennis Gardeck to the Jags. Edge Julian Okwara to the Browns. Edge Victor Dimukeje to the Giants. Linebackers Kaiser White and Chris Barnes are free agents, as is kicker Matt Prater. So a lot on the defensive side lost. Not a ton offensively. Pretty much the same unit from last year. Sans some draft picks, or one draft pick, I should say, and some free agent acquisitions there. But most of the movement for Arizona came on the defensive side of the ball. And that's what you see there. 4 defensive tackles gone, 3 edge rushers, 2 linebackers. Just a massive overhaul for Jonathan Gannon's defense there. But I do think they're going to regret some of these losses here. Roy Lopez was a very good role player on that Arizona D-line. Detroit gets a good one there. Dennis Gardeck. I have loved Dennis Gardeck for a long time. He has been a beast as a rotational edge rush option for Arizona. and hate to see him go, but nonetheless, I think he's going to be pretty solid there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at the free agent acquisitions here for Arizona. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett they got from the Patriots. They got wide receiver Zay Jones re-signed. They re-signed wide receiver Greg Dortch as well. Signed wide receiver Simi Fehoko from the Chargers. Big body receiver there. Tight end Josiah DeGuara from the Jags. Offensive tackle Kelvin Beachum. Center Evan Brown both re-signed. They got defensive tackle Calais Campbell from the Dolphins. Edge rusher LJ Collier, edge Baron Browning both re-signed. The big money free agent acquisition for the Cardinals, getting edge rusher Josh Sweat from the defending Super Bowl champ Eagles. Linebacker Akeem Davis Gaither from the Bengals. Linebacker Michael Walker from the Commanders. Corner Sean Murphy Bunting re-signed, as did long snapper Aaron Brewer, and corner Jalen Jones comes in from the Bears. So, yeah, it was again a big time overhaul on the defensive side of the ball. You see, they got 3 edge guys, Calais Campbell as well. They got 2 corner. They re-signed Murphy Bunting, got Jalen Jones at corner, got 2 linebackers as well, and Davis Gaither and Walker. But they did do some stuff on the offense. I like getting a better backup for Kyler in Jacoby Brissett, also sort of a mentor. Third tight end Josiah DeGuara. Or actually, they have his 4th tight end as well, with what they already had. So 4th tight end potentially. And they got some of their O linemen back there, Beachum and Brown as well. So, yeah. Cards draft here. Defense tackle Walter Nolan, Ole Miss, 16th overall. Corner Will Johnson, Michigan, 47th. In the second, 3rd round edge Jordan Birch, Oregon, 78th. 4th round linebacker Cody Simon, Ohio State, 115th. 5th round corner Denzel Burke, Ohio State, 174th. 6th round guard Hayden Connor, Texas, 211th. 7th round safety Keaton Crawford, Nevada, 225th. Again, very, very heavy defensively in this draft. Walter Nolan was a pretty good steal at 16. Will Johnson, excellent value at 47. Hopefully he can play with his knee injury issue. Birch is a versatile guy. He can play inside, outside. I like that. A little bit higher maybe than some people thought. Love Cody Simon, tackling machine on that Ohio State defense. Denzel Burke, I know Jimmy has a lot of words about Denzel Burke being an Ohio State fan. But, it's not a bad play in the 5th round. And don't know much about Connor, but Texas did have a very good running game this year. And Keaton Crawford, former Texas Longhorn, transferred to Nevada. He's a player that I really liked at Texas. Wasn't sure why he transferred to Nevada, but a good player nonetheless at safety position. He's going to have an uphill battle making this team with what they have already, but definitely think he's got a shot. And you look at Nolan slides in right away as 3-tech, 5-tech-ish, kind of inside there in the 3-4. Will Johnson, they have a starting corner opposite of Max Melton and Garrett Williams in the slot. They got Denzel Burke as well as a main backup. Cody Simon, a main backup there to Mac Wilson. Jordan Birch, they have him all the way down at 3rd string outside linebacker. I have to believe he will not be there. He's got to make the team somehow, and I'm not sure where they're going to do that. but we'll definitely see there where Jordan Birch eventually ends up on this roster. Overall, though, I think it was a pretty solid draft. I really like the Nolan, the Johnson, Birch. I like most of this draft here. So, I'm going to give the Cardinals a B plus and say that they got the job done in fixing this defense here potentially for Jonathan Gannon and co. We'll get Jimmy's grade when he gets here. But go to the Cards schedule here at the Saints, home against the Panthers, at the 49ers, home against the Seahawks on Thursday, versus the Titans, at the Colts, home against the Packers, week 8 bye, nice right in the middle of the season there. I love when that happens. Truly, I love when that happens. At the Cowboys Monday night, at the Seahawks week 10, home against the 49ers, home against the Jags, at the Bucks, home against the Rams, at the Texans, home against the Falcons, at the Bengals on a Saturday, home against the Rams. Yeah, it's not a bad schedule. Anyway here for Arizona. Starts off pretty nicely with the Saints and the Panthers. You never know what the Panthers are going to be this year. I think a lot of people are high on Bryce Young as I am, and think that Carolina could potentially make some noise depending on their defense. But offensively, they should be okay. So, but the 49ers, obviously, Seahawks, those are going to be two tough ones. Then they get another reprieve with the Titans and Colts. The Packers, we'll see. Nice week 8 bye. And then at the Cowboys, at the Seahawks, and then home against the 49ers, it's a tough 3-game stretch. You get the Jags. They have some hard road games for sure. Obviously, the division ones, San Francisco, LA, and Seattle. But then they got to go to Dallas on a Monday nighter, to Tampa, to Houston, and to Cincinnati on a Saturday. So those are the games I'm looking at. They really don't play a ton of hard opponents at home outside of the division. Their hardest opponent at home is the Packers. So really tough road schedule, but I think this team should be in the mix. I think they should be right around that 500 mark, kind of like they were last year. And we'll see if the defensive additions can really uptick this team to the playoffs or not. Going to Tampa, the Bucks losses. Running back Chase Edmonds is a free agent. Offensive tackle Justin School went to the Jimmy's Vikings. Center Robert Hainsey went to the Jags. Defensive tackle William Golston is a free agent. Edge rusher Joe Tryon-Shoyinka went to the Browns. Edge Shaq Barrett is a free agent. Linebacker KJ Britt went to the Dolphins. Corner Troy Hill, safety Jordan Whitehead are free agents. And safety Mike Edwards went to the Chiefs. Again, not a ton of guys I'm losing sleep over in the losses here. Hainsey at center potentially could be a big loss, but they have 24 first-rounder Graham Barton and undrafted free agent who I think is a stud, Jake Majors, backing him up. So I like that combo at center. The edge rushers, Tryon-Shoyinka and Barrett are so-so. They've kind of been re-upping the last couple of drafts to supplant these guys anyways. They also added Hassan Reddick, re-signed Anthony Nelson. But they have Yaya Diaby, a 23 third-rounder, Chris Braswell, a 24 second-rounder, David Walker, a 25 fourth-rounder. So they've got some guys that I think are capable of holding this pass rush down for sure, and do not need the other two guys there. They traded essentially Britt for Walker Jr. with the Dolphins. I think that's a like-for-like selection there. Walker, I think, is a little bit better, smoother running. The safeties, I don't like that they lost both of those guys. But again, they've drafted well, and I do think it's a little light there, though. Marcus Banks, Kayvon Merriweather, Rashad Wisdom, all undrafted guys. Banks and Wisdom 24, Merriweather 23. And they do have JJ Roberts, Shiloh Sanders, undrafted this year as well. So it's thin behind Tyke Smith, Antoine Winfield. I would like to see them re-sign Whitehead if they get the chance there. If he's okay taking a backup role, I think that they definitely need to get someone in to back those guys up because, like I said, it is razor thin back there at the safety position for Tampa Bay. Signings, QB Kyle Bucks really re-signed their own. They didn't do a lot of free agent shopping outside. Quarterback Kyle Trask re-signed. They re-signed wide receiver Chris Godwin, wide receiver Sterling Shepard, got offensive tackle Charlie Heck from the 49ers, re-signed guards Ben Bredesen and Sua Opeta, defensive tackle Greg Gaines, edge rusher Anthony Nelson. They signed edge Hassan Reddick from the Jets. They re-signed linebacker Levante David, signed Dolphins linebacker Anthony Walker Jr., They re-signed corner Bryce Hall, signed corner Kendall Vildor from the Lions, and punter Riley Dixon from the Broncos. So, again, not a lot of outside shopping here. I think Dixon was a very good addition at the special teams. But Heck's going to fill in nicely as the swing tackle this year. They really didn't have a lot of other options. Garrett Greenfield out of West Virginia, former 2024 undrafted guy there. But yeah, he's going to be counted on to be that swing guy. Luke Gadecki, Tristan Wirfs, the right and left tackles, respectively, as the starters. But Heck brought in to be that third guy. I do like the addition of Walker and Reddick. Reddick is a guy that, can he get back to what he was in Philadelphia? I don't know. He wasn't very good in New York after the contract spat. And we don't know. He's over 30, and there's a lot of unknowns. That's why he signed only a one-year deal with Tampa, because no one else would take him. So I think that's a big potential upside pick signing for Tampa here, but we'll see. I really like the re-signing of the guards, Opeta and Bredesen there, both at left guard. And obviously the re-signing of Godwin really held this passing game with Baker Mayfield in check here. Godwin, Evans, and the first-rounder Ibuka, Palmer, Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard, Rakeem Jarrett, Ryan Miller, Tez Johnson. What is up, Jimmy?
What's up? Sorry for the lateness.
It's all good, man. Almost done, really.
Quick show. We like that.
Yeah. But I'm just about finished up talking with my comments on the Bucks offseason. You want to roll back to the Cards if you have anything on the Cards here on their offseason or draft or schedule?
In terms of signings, they looked like they wanted to beef up that defensive line, that those trenches. Calais Campbell, obviously a vet, he's massive. I like getting Josh Sweat. I think this is a good bounce back opportunity for him. I like Mikael Walker. I think a lot of people think that might be an underrated signing. Bringing back Sean Murphy-Bunting is also huge. I wish they added more to the offensive line. Beachum and Brown aren't bad. I just think there are more depth. In terms of their draft, who was their first round pick? Oh, yeah, Walter Nolan. More adding to the defensive depth. Will Johnson, I'm a little concerned about. I think the big issue with Will Johnson is what we saw during draft day. That leg injury is very serious. I mean, I don't think this guy has a long career in the NFL. But I think that's kind of why they kind of doubled up with Denzel Burke. But I think it's a fine draft. This is a definitive B- draft. They didn't need weapons because you already have Marvin Harrison Jr. You have Kyler Murphy. You didn't need those skill players. In terms of schedule, I think this team really needs to make at least the wild card. I think their division has gotten weaker around them. I mean, Seahawks are now going with Sam Darnold. 49ers have lost a lot of depth, and who else is there? Why am I blanking on Rams? Older roster in terms of offensive weapons. Defense is pretty young, but the offense is a little weak. But this team should, on paper, make the playoffs as at least a wild card team, because at this point you have Kyler Murphy, former first overall pick, 0 playoff wins. You got to win. But that's my cliff notes for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, Kyler Murray there leading the charge. I forgot to mention when I talked about the draft here what their draft versus my needs. I had them as a B+. I really liked a lot of their players. I loved Will Johnson. Hopefully he can be healthy. But they did not hit my number one need, which I had wide receiver as the number one need. I do not like this wide receiving core outside of Marvin Harrison. Michael Wilson has done a phenomenal job as a third rounder 2 years ago. He's going into year 3. But he's not a stud, right? He's not a true number 2, I think, anyways. They really don't have anything else, right? They re-signed Zay Jones. They re-signed Greg Dortch, who has weirdly enough put up some ridiculous games in his career. They have Xavier Weaver, who they signed as undrafted last year. They signed Semi Fehoko, like we mentioned. Tawan Palmer's a 24 6th rounder going into year 2. They signed Tristan Jackson this year. They have Andre Bachelia. They signed Bryson Green, Oklahoma State undrafted. And they signed Quez Watkins this year as well. So, yeah, wide receiver I thought was a big need. They did not draft that at all. They did hit linebacker, interior O and D line, which were my set 3rd and 4th needs. And then the only other need I had for the Cardinals, this was one of the fewest needs for any of the teams. Kicker. I am not sold on Chad Ryland. Nor am I sold on Blake Gillikin really either at punter, but I don't know why they did not bring Matt Prater back. He one of the best kickers in the league, I thought. But yeah, it behooves me why they have not brought him back yet, because he's still out there, and I would really like Prater. I would trust Prater over Ryland any day.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Maybe this team thinks its offense is so good it will never have to kick.
You still got to kick extra points.
You still need a kicker. You need a guy that you could, when you get within 45-yard field goal, you need a guy that can make 90, 95% of them.
Right, and Prater had that 50 range.
Oh, yeah.
Ryland, I don't think, really has that leg to consistently hit the 50s. But what do you got on the Bucs offseason? I already said my piece.
Bucs, with this, big signing of Baker Mayfield, we're keeping Chris Godwin, who had more money on the table from New England. That tells me this team has, really good culture, really good place to play. I don't think they lost too many difference makers. I think they lost interesting depth. Joe Tryon, I kind of thought could be who was a former first-round pick. I thought he could break out, especially with how kind of old the defense was on the other side. I thought he could be someone that could figure it out. Jordan Whitehead was kind of there, kind of not. But I like what they brought back in. Hassan Reddick, obviously. I know he had that thing with the Jets, but who the hell wants to play for the Jets anyway? I mean, that's a shithole franchise. I think with the culture that Tampa Bay has, he's going to fit right in. I like bringing in Vildor. I know he's probably going to be number one to a lot of Detroit Lions fans, but he's good depth. Riley Dixon, pretty good punter to bring in. I don't think they lost many guys that they didn't either A, replace, or B, can't live without.
Yeah, like I said, they really didn't go outside a lot. They re-signed most of their own guys and did a little bit of shopping on the veteran depth market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
besides Reddick. Reddick's listed as a starter, and Walker.
Yeah, just bits and pieces.
Yeah, draft here. First round wide receiver Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State, 19th. Second round corner Benjamin Morrison, Notre Dame, 53rd. Third round corner Jacob Parrish, Kansas State, 84th. Fourth round edge David Walker, Central Arkansas, 121st. Fifth round edge Elijah Roberts, SMU, 157th. No sixth and seventh wide receiver Tez Johnson, Oregon, 235th. So this was one of the worst drafts in terms of my needs. And it holds true with what their free agent plus minus did and what I just talked about when I talked about the offseason free agent wise. Safety. Why did they not draft a freaking safety, man? They have nothing behind Tyke Smith and Antoine Winfield. Kayvon Merriweather is a 23 undrafted. Marcus Banks, Rashad Wisdom, 24 undrafteds. J.J. Roberts, Shiloh Sanders, undrafted this year. I mean, I don't know what they're going to – they can't play three safeties at all if they wanted to. There are no players. I was just looking at like the corners that, sometimes one of the corners can maybe play that safety role in subsets, but sub packages, but I don't see it. And I don't see it from any of the linebackers either. So I don't know why they haven't re-signed Jordan Whitehead. I mentioned that, but that was my number one need. And I still think it's their number one need. Linebacker. They didn't draft a linebacker either. I think they're okay with what they got there. They got a solid top four, so that should be okay in a base 3-4 defense. And I do like Nick Jackson as well as an undrafted guy. They hit corner, which is my third one, but then they tackle depth. I thought they could have drafted a guy to compete with Charlie Heck as the swing guy. He's it. That's all they have really at the swing position. I mentioned Garrett Greenfield undrafted last year. I did really like him at West Virginia though. So, or not West Virginia. Was he West Virginia? No, Garrett Green was West Virginia. Garrett Greenfield was South Dakota State. That's right. My bad. Garrett Green, West Virginia quarterback. But they do have Garrett Greenfield, who they got last year, undrafted free agent, who I did like at South Dakota State. Silas DeZanzi as well, Virginia Tech, undrafted in 23. But again, thought they maybe should have went with one of a tackle there. Interior O-line depth, kind of the same thing, but they did draft Elijah Klein, 24, sixth rounder. And they re-signed Opeta there. And like I said, I do really love that they got Jake Majors in undrafted free agency, center out of Texas. He's a stud, I thought. I'm not sure why he didn't get drafted, but I really liked him at Texas. And then they got two wide receivers, tight end. I really like Cade Otton, but we've seen what Payne Durham can be in 2 seasons as a 23 fifth rounder. It's not that great. Ko Keith, 22 sixth rounder, not that great. I'm interested, though, to see if Devin Culp can climb the roster this year. I liked him at Washington, 7th rounder last year. We'll see if he can make the roster this year or not, or if they keep 4. I don't know. And then the only other need I had for Tampa was quarterback. They re-signed Trask. They signed Michael Pratt last year from the Packers. And they got Connor Bazelak out of Bowling Green, undrafted this year. So it's not the prettiest quarterback room. I thought they might have taken one just to give Trask some competition. But they did not. And again, only 6 picks, so it's kind of limited. They doubled up on corner and edge and wide receiver. They only drafted 3 positions in this draft. So kind of 4 though, I would say, because Elijah Roberts is a guy that I think can double up and go inside, and that's actually where they do have him. They have him as a D end in the 3-4. So really they drafted interior D line, edge, corner, and wide receiver. But yeah, I don't know. It was an okay draft, just not a lot of diversity in terms of positions. And I kind of thought they wasted the Tez Johnson selection. Maybe throw something on a quarterback at the end. Or a safety. My God, a safety. They should have drafted safety. I thought they should have drafted one of the top 2 safeties over Egbuka in round 1. I did not think I had wide receiver way down the board on mine. I had it as my 6th need.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this was a strange draft right out of the gate. I thought getting Egbuka, who is a great wide receiver, don't get me wrong. I really like him. I saw him a lot at Ohio State. He's going to be a good player. I'm thinking this might be a situation where we don't know about Chris Godwin's injury. We don't know if he's going to be 100%. So maybe there's that. And then Mike Evans, obviously getting along in the tooth. Maybe they would rather go high upside now so they don't have to like use a first round pick on a wide receiver later. Maybe. But I'm in your camp. I thought they could have gone safety first round, or hell, they could have gone. I think another place they could have gone. I think they could have gone interior O line, Donovan Jackson, out of Ohio State, and Buka's teammate. I didn't think that'd be too bad of a draft pick. I like this team's line, but that's a pretty good offensive lineman. I do like Benjamin Morrison in the second round. I think that's their best pick, in my opinion. He's a guy I really like to the Vikings. I'm really good friends with Notre Dame fans, and I've seen this guy a lot. The consensus with Benjamin Morrison is if he's healthy for like the entire draft, like entire season, he's a first-round talent. Someone's going to luck into this guy being a second-round pick, and Buccaneers did. Everything else, I really don't get. I don't get doubling up 3 times. I can get up once or twice. I get it, but like as much as I think like a Tez Johnson in the 7th round is a good value, it just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I thought this team, like you, I think this team could have went for a safety or a tight end or a backup, like 3rd string quarterback, give Kyle Trask some competition, for the second QB spot. It didn't make a ton of sense to me. So in terms of grades, I love Egbuka, the player. Weird fit, but maybe this is a future thing, so I'm going to try to give him some grace there. Benjamin Morrison, great pick, best pick of the draft. Everything else I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to give him a C-, bordering on D+. The good thing about Tampa is you don't really have competition in that division yet. This draft isn't going to hurt you, and it might actually be a long-term draft that we look back on and go like, oh, they took guys that turned out to work well in the long run, and we were just being too early thinking about it. But it's hard to love this draft. It's hard to love a draft where you double dip 3 times. It's hard to do that.
Yeah, my biggest issue in grading this thing is I really like the players.
That's a tough thing. It's a good players draft. It's just not a good draft.
Yeah. I like Egbuka. I loved Egbuka. I want him for Pittsburgh. Love Ben Morrison. Jacob Harris, excellent slot corner. David Walker, I watched film specifically on him. Pretty solid player at the FCS level, racked up a ton of sacks. Still a little raw, though, and needs some refinement. Elijah Roberts is a good workhorse, inside outside versatility. And Tez Johnson, speedster, had some off the field issues, I believe, is why he got drafted in the 7th round. But yeah, I wanted to go B minus, but I think I'm going to move down to C plus because of the lack of safety. I just think that was a big time misdrafting on that. And I know they have 2 studs in Winfield and Tyke Smith, and it probably wouldn't have made sense to go in the 1st round. But there was only 1 draft in the 1st round, and it was well after the Bucs with the Ravens drafting Malachi Starks. Nicky Manwari went in the 2nd round. So there were definitely opportunities to draft those guys. And I get what the vision is with Igbuka eventually. It's just I think this is a win now team. And I don't think Igbuka gives them enough value now while Baker is still on the team and while Mike Evans is still, all the veterans that they have. I don't think Igbuka gives you a leg up or like an extra win. So I'll go C plus. I'll be nice. I wanted to give him B minus because of the players, but the lack of filling of needs on my part was
It almost feels like they kind of did what the Browns did and just auto drafted. It's just like, oh, auto draft, best player available, take.
Yeah.
Auto draft, best player available, take. It really did feel like that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Bucs schedule at the Falcons, at the Texans Monday night, home against the Jets and the Eagles, at the Seahawks, home against the 49ers, at the Lions Monday night, at the Saints, week 9 bye, kind of like the Cardinals. Love that, right in the middle of the season. That's what you love to see. Home against the Patriots, at the Bills, at the Rams Sunday night, home against the Cards, home against the Saints, home against the Falcons Thursday night, at the Panthers, at the Dolphins, home against the Panthers. So one of those weird. I feel like they always do that. The Panthers and Bucks. The Panthers and Bucks seem to always play that 2 out of 3 schedule somewhere in the season. But who knows? Maybe Carolina's good enough this year that they Bucks need to beat them. Definitely tougher schedule than the Cardinals. But I can pencil you in 1 win right now, Jimmy. I can tell you 1 win that they are for sure going to win. It's week 4, home against the Eagles. They're going to beat the Eagles. I don't know why the Eagles cannot win in Tampa Bay. They can't. They can't. They've played there like 5 straight years.
Just too nice.
They can't beat them. And they get
the weather's
demolished.
Just too nice. They go down there, they enjoy themselves.
Yeah, and they get demolished by them too every time. It's not even close.
Yeah, Tampa has a very interesting home field advantage that I don't think a lot of teams realize. I think it's because they've been mediocre for so long, you don't realize the home field advantage. But once Tom Brady got down there, it's like, holy shit, Tampa's hard to win at. But yeah, this is a very interesting schedule. It's very front heavy. Like until you get to that bye week, you're facing the Texans on the road on Monday Night Football, facing the Eagles at home, going all the way cross country to Seattle, then coming back to face the 49ers, then going back on the road to face the Lions Monday Night Football. I mean, weeks 2 through 7, other than that Jets game, that's going to be a gauntlet. So if they get to that week 9 bye, head above water, over 500, let's say they're 5-3, I think they really should run away with the division. Because after week 9, you got the Bills on the road, which will be tough. Rams on the road will probably be tough as well because that's prime time. But everything else, Cardinals should be a playoff team, but they're not at home, obviously. And as much as I do want to believe in the Panthers, I really do. I don't think the Panthers are going to take 2 out of 2. They might split it. But I don't see the Panthers dominating the Bucs this year. I just think the Panthers are too good. I think think this team finishes like 11-6. I think they cruise to another division title. I just think the Panthers aren't quite ready. The Saints are in a teardown, and the Falcons kind of in the same boat as the Panthers, just a year behind with the new quarterback getting his feet under him. Weird roster. So this should be an 11-6 team. This should be winning the division. Just keep your head above water until your bye week and then come back and beat up on bad teams.
Yeah, I believe so as well. But one thing to note, though, it is tough. They play 4 division games in the last 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we know this division isn't the best, but it's not easy to play back-to-back-to-back division games because you hate each other. You play each other every year twice. And those games are always seem to be closer than people expect just because they're in the division. I'm looking at that Falcons Thursday night game. I know it's in Tampa, but the Falcons are probably going to be looking for revenge because you and I and everyone else probably expects Tampa to win in Atlanta week 1. So I don't know. That's a weird schedule work.
Yeah. But I will say this, though. Speaking of that Thursday night football game, this team has 4, primetime slots. I don't know what it is, but Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, they play so well when the lights are on them. Like, when they get the national spotlight, they play really well. Like, it's almost like this team loves the spotlight. So that's going to be a tough one for the Falcons to go on the road in a tough place to win. All eyes on you late in the season, probably playoff implications. I'm still going Bucs there, but I get your point. Falcons should make an improvement, but I think that's a team that I think the Falcons are a team that kind of understands the expectation is just to make sure Michael Penix develops. Winning is secondary. I mean, like, getting to the playoffs, it'd be a nice bonus, but I don't think this Falcons team is going, we need to make the playoffs come hell or high water. So we'll see. I've said this before. I'll say it again. It's your division until it's not. And, you're a good team until you're not. And the Bucs are a good team. And Falcons are a team that should be on the rise, but I'm not going to believe in them until they start winning.
Yeah, 3 of those 4 prime times you mentioned on the road.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
All right. That's it. No other news. We made it to about 45 minutes. So next week, next Friday. Remember, this is our Friday show. So we'll finish up our off-season recaps. We'll get John Babington on Monday talking Bengals Seahawks, and then it's go time. We're talking training camp week 2 next Friday. AFC South preview, and that'll start our preview series. We'll do most of the NFL divisions first until we get into the last show of July. Then we'll start doing college conferences as well. And then before you know it, Jimmy, it'll be September 1st, and we're picking Super Bowls, Heisman, and MVPs. And
favorite time of year.
We'll be rolling.
Hot Take Central.
Yeah, for sure. So don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram and X, FAA_bets on X as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and TikTok at FAA.podcast. And we will see y'all back on Monday. Happy 4th of July, everyone.